Peace. Um, just wanted to hit y'all with something on this 27th day of September. It's actually my birthday, so I'm gonna hit y'all with a birthday present from me to you. Um, being that we are in a Western way of thinking, we're gonna go with a Westernist point of view on this sensitive topic of religion. And I'm gonna go into the 48 laws of power. Law number 27 from a mathematics catch that break down that two and add it to the seven. You already know what that is, what that gives. So we're gonna move forward. Play on people's need to believe to create a cult-like following. Judgment. People have an overwhelming desire to believe in something, but become the focal point of such a desire by offering them a cause, a new faith to follow. Keep your words vague but full of promise. Emphasize enthusiasm over rationality and clear thinking. Emphasize enthusiasm over rationality and clear thinking. Give your new disciples rituals to perform and ask them to make sacrifices on your behalf. In this absence of organized religion and grand causes, your new belief system will bring you untold power. That kind of speaks for itself in itself, but we're going to move forward. The science of charlatanism, or how to create a cult in 5 easy steps. You might think it a gargantuan task to create such a following, but in fact, it is fairly simple. As humans, we have a desperate need to believe in something, anything that makes us eminently gullible. We simply cannot endure long periods of doubt or the emptiness that comes from a lack of something to believe in. Dangle in front of us some new cause, elixir, get rich quick scheme, or the latest technological trend or art movement, and we leap from water as one to take the bait. Look at history. The chronicles of new trends and cults that have made a mass following for themselves could fill a library. After a few centuries, a few decades, a few years, a few months, they generally look ridiculous, but at the time they seem so attractive, so transcendental, so divine. Always in a rush to believe in something, we will manufacture saints and faiths out of nothing. Do not let this gullibility go to waste. Make yourself the object of worship. Make people form a cult around you. Man, who best to learn from but these quote-unquote organized religion? Who gives these organized religion that title of organized? The government. You look at the root meaning of religion and the root meaning of government, and you see why people that have come into the light of awareness finally saw them as going hand in hand. Step one, keep it vague, keep it simple. To create a cult, you must first attract attention. This you should do not through actions which are too clear and readable, but through words which are hazy and deceptive. Your initial speeches, conversations, and interviews must include two elements. On one hand, the promise of something great and transformative, and on the other hand, total vagueness, I should say. This combination will simulate all kinds of hazy dreams in your listeners, who will make their own connections and see what they want to see. Break that paragraph down yourself, and you'll see why visions of heaven, visions of my father's mansion, my father having many mansions, and these valleys and streams with rivers flow made of milk and honey and wine that will not have alcohol, that doesn't have alcohol. And anyway, what really started to burn me was the whole talk of women with large eyes chained down to for a man's desires, and that's like the cravings of the flesh, man. So if you don't come to the realization that it's the flesh that writes those words in these so-called books, then you never will, man. These books, beautiful in their own way because they have higher meanings that most people just cannot reach because they don't get out of that fantasy la-la stuff. But we're going to step number two. Emphasize the visual and the sensual over the intellectual. Once people have begun to gather around you, two dangers will present themselves: boredom and skepticism. Boredom will make people go elsewhere. Skepticism will allow them to think rationally about whatever you are offering, blowing away the myths you have artfully created and revealing your ideas for what they are. You need to amuse the bored, then ward off the cynics. Wow. So, whoever doesn't fall for your line of BS, get rid of them and continue to amuse the ones that fallen for your dream, your fantasy. Step three, borrow the forms of organized religion to structure the group. Your cult-like following is growing, and it is time to organize it. Find a way both elevating and comforting. Organized religions have long held unquestioned authority for large numbers of people and continue to do so in our supposedly secular age. And even if the religion itself has faded some, its forms still resonate with power. The lofty and holy association of organized religions can endlessly be exploited. Create rituals for your followers, organize them into hierarchy, ranking them in grades of sanctity, and giving them names and titles that resound with religious overtones. Ask them for sacrifices that will fill your coffers and increase your power. To emphasize your gatherings, cause the religious nature, talk and act like a prophet. You are not a dictator. After all, you are a priest, a guru, a sage, a shaman, or any other word that hides your real power in the midst of the religion. Wow, man. Step 4, disguise your source of income. Your group has grown and you have structured it in a church-like form. Your coffers are beginning to fill with your followers' money. Yet you must never be seen as hungry for money and the power it brings. It is at this moment that you must disguise the source of your income. Oh boy. We're going to step 5. Set up an us versus them dynamic. The group is now large and thriving, the magnet attracting more and more particles. If you are not careful, though, the inertia will set in and time and boredom will demagnetize the group. To keep your followers united, you must now do what all religions and belief systems have done, create an us versus them dynamic. First, make sure your followers believe that they are part of an exclusive club unified by a bond of common goals. Then, to strengthen this bond, manufacture the notion of the devious enemy out to ruin you. There is a force of non-believers that will do anything to stop you. Any outsider who tries to reveal the charlatan nature of your belief system can now be described as a member of this devious force. If you have no enemies, invent one. Given a straw man to react against, your followers will tighten and cohere. They have your cause to believe in and infidels to destroy. So, you hear the word infidels, you hear non-believers, you hear atheists, you hear, like, man, atheist broken down to its purest form is just somebody that goes against the theories of these organized religions, man. You know what I mean? Like, do the research yourself, man. Pay attention to the history, the bloodshed, all that stuff that's happened through the course of these so-called religions, man. And you'll see what ends up being the obvious, man. I mean, you ain't got to go too far back. Look at what's going on in Sudan. You know what I'm saying? And when you're talking about certain cults and stuff, look at who started Jehovah's Witness and the Mormons, man. Like, what is will always be, man. It ain't about being baptized in a bucket of water or a tub of water. Get baptized in the ocean, man. Dump your body in the ocean, man, and learn about the world, man. It's like so much of that stuff, man, just looking at it from a simple point of view, you break them all down and read all the 3 major books, man, you'll realize that they all pretty much saying the same thing. And then when you study the so-called history of these people that they speak of, that they follow, they're all tied into the same bloodlines, man. But yet these so-called people, these enlightened people, don't want to look at the fact that they're all cousins. It's out of ignorance, man. Once you're in the world of faith, there is no room for science. That's why they always bickering against one another. Once you're in the world of faith, you can't talk about dinosaurs because dinosaurs aren't explained in those books. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, all I can do is encourage people to do the research themselves, man. And I don't care to debate. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're trapped in faith, then that's just what you are. I'm in fact, man. I know what I see. I know what I read, and I know what I know. So I hope this passage out of the 48 Laws of Power was helpful. And for all the people that's out there, you know, looking to gain knowledge, granted, we can acquire knowledge from people that look like us and have come from the same descendancy as us, but there is just as much to learn from the people that don't. There's a little bit to learn in everything out there. And with books like this, you know what I'm saying, you look at the world totally different, man. So I definitely encourage people to check out that, 48 Laws of Power, 33 Strategies of War, Art of Seduction, you know what I'm saying, Art of War. Like, you'll really realize just how much you truly do need to know your enemies, frenemies, and all these other people that pose in different forms in front of you. Peace and blessings to all men, women, and child.